Hi, this is Mrs. Burley, and I thought that for those of you who are absent today, it would actually be nice if I could video record what you missed so that you're up to speed with everything. Today we started talking about the Millennium Development Goals, and as you know, the Millennium Development Goals were created by the United Nations in the year 2000. They wrote up 8 goals, areas where they thought that the world could use some improvement, and they set a deadline for those goals. They said that we should meet those goals by the year 2015. So today we went over Millennium Development Goal 1, which, if you remember, said that we would try to eradicate poverty and hunger. You'll have to excuse my handwriting. This board is very hard to write with. Eradicate poverty and hunger. Now, if we go and we look at what the UN actually said, we could see that in 1990, nearly 28% of people living in low and middle income countries were living on less than $1 a day. So just let that sink in for a few minutes. 28%, that's more than a quarter of our global population living on less than $1 each day. So many people living at this level of poverty can't afford to pay for basic requirements such as food. The aim of the first development goal was to reduce this figure to 14% by the year 2015, thereby lifting more than 500 million people out of extreme poverty. While this will not signify a complete eradication of poverty, it will bring the world closer to a stage when all its people will have the minimum necessary to feed and clothe themselves. So that being said, what does this goal actually intend to do? It looks to have the number of people, the proportion of people, living in poverty. So we want to have the proportion of people living in poverty. We also want to have the proportion of people that are hungry, because these do mean two different things. All right, so now it's actually important that we define what poverty is. So I'm just going to clear this out and move my board up a little bit. Many of us might have an image of what poverty is, but to define it, it's actually pretty simple. We could say that it's lacking the money we need to buy the things that we need to survive. So lacking money to buy the things we need to survive. And we'll talk about what that means in a second. Whoops, sorry about that. All right, we'll talk about what we actually do need to survive in just a second. Now, it's also important to note that poverty actually has a couple different levels, but in this case, we're not talking about relative poverty, which means poverty in relation to your nation's poverty level. We're talking about extreme poverty, which is less than $1 a day. All right, so hunger and malnutrition, a lot of times these terms are used synonymously, but they're actually very different. Hunger is when you actually don't have enough food, so not enough food. And sometimes the reason why these get confused is because the word that we're thinking of is malnourished. Malnourished and malnutrition tend to be confused. All right, so what is malnutrition? That's when you actually lack nutrients. A person can eat white rice every day and feel full. Their stomach might feel full. They go to bed not hungry, but their body lacks a lot of those essential nutrients that they need to be healthy. So that's a problem. So if we look at this map that I provided for you, why don't you take a second and just circle the areas where you think that poverty exists. I'll give you a second to think about it. Many people, many people tend to say parts of Africa or the Middle East. A lot of you might have mentioned North Korea because of what we talked about this year. I often hear South America, the United States, parts of Asia. Absolutely, those are all true. But really, when it comes down to it, the entire world experiences poverty. Certainly there's different levels of poverty in different areas, but we all see poverty. Some important statistics that I think you should be aware of. 17% of children in the United States live within impoverished conditions. That's almost a fifth of our population of children. Other important numbers, 1/3 of deaths that happen every single year, that equals about 18 million deaths a year, or 50,000 deaths a day. So 50,000 deaths per day. These are the direct results of poverty, due to poverty. Poverty really does have an incredible effect on other facets of our lives. Let's see, another one. 600 million children. I'm just going to write kids for the sake of keeping it short. 600 million kids worldwide live in poverty. And 800 million people go to bed hungry every single night. Not malnourished, they're actually hungry. So those are pretty grim realities. All right, so let's take a second now and just look at the next page. Let me pull my mouse up. I want to know, what do we need to survive? And I don't mean to live in this society and to live comfortably, but what do we actually need to maintain a heartbeat? And I don't think you really need too much time to jump at an answer. We usually hear food, water, shelter. And while there certainly are others, this is what we essentially need, like I said, to maintain a heartbeat. So let's just review this one piece. All right, I lost my feed there for a second. I'm not exactly sure where I left off, so I guess I'll just reiterate the basic needs that we need to survive: food, water, and shelter. And there are other things that we need, like I said, to be a part of society and to be comfortable and to maintain a certain lifestyle, but these are things we need to sustain a heartbeat. All right, so just to review a point from earlier, more than 1 billion people in the world live on less than $1 a day. So now let's come into our culture, the one that we're most comfortable with, and let's think about what $1 can buy us in the United States. McDonald's dollar menu might come to mind, the dollar store, maybe a bottle of water. Oops, bottle of water. I heard someone in class today say 4 gumballs or a bag of potato chips from the cafeteria. Somebody said 1 cookie from the cafeteria. But when you bear in mind that we need food, water, and shelter to survive, we have to ask ourselves, is this enough in the United States? And I think we could all say that the answer is absolutely no. So now beyond these things that, considering what we need to survive and considering what we can get for $1, we have to remember that there are other things, which I touched on earlier, that we need just to kind of survive in this society. We need a place to live, and to live someplace you need to pay rent.